If you told me a year ago that I'd be sitting alone in a near-empty apartment with nothing but a mattress on the floor, a flickering lamp, and the distant hum of traffic, I'd have laughed and said I wasn't the dramatic type. But here I am, 32 years old, staring at the ruins of what used to be my life and trying to make sense of the explosion that took down my relationship, my family, and the business I practically rebuilt with my bare hands. My name is Darlene Arnold, and 3 months ago, I discovered that my younger sister, Emily, the golden child, the miracle daughter, the one who could do no wrong, had been sleeping with my boyfriend of 3 years, and somehow everyone except me seemed convinced that I should just let it go. Let it go. As if betrayal that deep could be shrugged off like bad weather. Growing up, I learned early how the Arnold household worked. I didn't resent Emily, not at first. She was the baby, the fragile one, the one parents whispered about softly, the one who got extensions, leniencies, second chances. Me? I was the steady oldest daughter, the one who turned off lights, double-checked on doors, did homework on time, and helped mom with laundry without being asked. When Emily failed a class, she was going through a phase. When she got caught shoplifting at 16, stress makes teenagers do strange things. When she totaled Dad's old Buick after sneaking out at night, the insurance company became the villain in Mom's retelling. Meanwhile, I once came home an hour late because I stayed with a friend whose tire blew out and was grounded for 2 weeks. That imbalance never really left us, not even as adults. By the time I was 29, I had a stable job as a financial analyst. I bought my own place, drove a car I paid off myself, and built actual savings. Dad noticed my financial discipline and asked if I could help him reorganize his construction company's books. He was old school, numbers in a notebook, receipts in shoeboxes, and deals made by handshake. The kind of man who knew everything about concrete curing time, but nothing about digital invoices. 6 months later, I had rebuilt his financial systems from the ground up. Automated payroll, streamlined supplier costs, organized project budgets. I saved him nearly $80,000 in the first year alone. His thank you? A handshake, and that's what family does. But when he decided to semi-retire 2 years later, who did he give power to? Not me, not the daughter who literally kept his business from sinking. He handed the company to Emily, the one with zero business experience, zero construction knowledge, and zero sense of responsibility. She got the title, the salary, the golden keys to the kingdom. They even put her name on the ownership papers. When I pointed out that I'd been doing the CFO job without pay for years, Dad simply said, "You have your own career, sweetheart. Emily needs this more than you do." Funny how need only ever worked one way in our family. But I swallowed it, like I swallowed everything else. And then came Daniel, my boyfriend, or my ex-boyfriend now. When we met at a friend's birthday barbecue, I thought I finally found someone who made me feel seen. Steady job, warm smile, quick wit. He made me feel safe, grounded. Introducing him to my family should have been a good thing. It turned out to be the beginning of the end. Emily charmed him instantly. She charms everyone. This effortless, bright playfulness that doesn't require depth to feel intoxicating. She laughed at all his jokes. He teased her often. I thought it was innocent. I told myself Emily needed friends, and Daniel was simply being kind. I trusted him. I trusted both of them. But the shift came slowly. Daniel became distant, less affectionate, more irritable, more secrets on his phone. When I asked if something was wrong, he blamed work, said he was tired, stressed, needed space. I convinced myself I was imagining things until the day it all shattered. 3 months ago, I went to my parents' house to help Dad organize project files. Emily was supposedly out shopping with Mom, and Daniel was supposedly on an afternoon shift. I went upstairs to grab a binder Dad said he left in Emily's old room. But before I reached the doorway, I heard voices. His voice, her voice, laughter, breathing, intimate whispers followed by sounds I will never unhear. For 30 seconds, I stood frozen, body numb, mind refusing to process the truth pressing against the closed door. Then something inside me turned cold. Not rage, not heartbreak, a clarity I didn't know I was capable of. I pulled out my phone, pressed record, captured 2 minutes of audio, their breathless betrayal. Then I walked downstairs silently, got in my car, and drove away without confronting either of them. At home, Daniel greeted me with a casual, "Hey babe," like nothing had happened. I stared at him for a moment, wondering how long he had been lying to my face, how many times he'd kissed me while smelling like my sister's perfume. Later that night, while he showered, I opened his laptop. Yes, it was invasive, but I no longer cared about etiquette. What I found was worse than I imagined. 3 years worth of messages. 3 years of gaslighting me in real time. 3 years of them mocking me behind my back. Emily, she's so boring. I don't know how you stand it. Daniel, she'll never find out. Darlene's too busy saving her family. Emily, maybe she should focus less on spreadsheets and more on keeping a man. The cruelty was casual, effortless, like hurting me was just entertainment to them. I spent the entire night building a file. Screenshots, timelines, audio clips, every lie documented, every betrayal laid out. By sunrise, I had a plan. It wasn't explosive, it wasn't emotional, it was methodical. Because now I knew exactly how to destroy the part of my life that had been feeding on me for years. And I was finally ready to stop being the daughter who held everyone together. For the next 7 days, I became an actress. Polite smile, steady voice, obedient routine. I woke up, went to work, came home, cooked dinner with Daniel, kissed him goodnight. I didn't flinch when he touched me. I didn't question the lies he continued feeding me. I didn't even look at him differently. I needed time. Time to arrange every piece of truth into a weapon sharp enough to cut through years of excuses, favoritism, and emotional neglect. By the time Sunday rolled around, I was ready. My parents host dinner every Sunday without fail. A tradition, a ritual. The one place where everyone pretends we're a perfect family. Emily was already there when I arrived. Hair curled, eyes bright, smiling the same easy smile she used the first time she hugged me after borrowing money she never repaid. Daniel sat beside her at the table. The sight made my stomach twist, but my face didn't show it. Dad grinned when he saw me. Hey, sweetheart, we've been waiting for you. Got photos from your work event to show us? Yeah, I said, lifting my laptop bag. I brought them. Of course, the laptop didn't hold event photos. It held the truth. Dinner was loud, cheerful, full of clinking dishes and Mom's soft fussing over plates. Emily told some story about a salon mishap. Daniel laughed too hard at it. My aunt whispered to Mom about a neighbor's divorce drama, while my uncle kept passing the breadbasket despite no one asking. It was painfully normal, like a funeral where no one knows the body is still in the room. When plates were cleared, I stood. I have something to share. The room settled instantly. Everyone who knew me knew I didn't share unless something mattered. Emily leaned back in her chair, swirling her wine. Daniel sat stiffly. Mom tilted her head with that soft, patronizing concern she'd perfected for decades. I have news, I said calmly. Daniel and I are breaking up. The reactions rippled around the room. Mom gasped and clutched her chest. Oh, honey, why? You two were so good together. Emily froze. The stem of her glass trembled. Daniel stared at his hands like they might save him. That, I continued, is the interesting part. I opened my laptop, turned it toward them. A folder titled Emily plus Daniel, 3 Years of Lies. Mom blinked. Dad frowned. Emily's smile collapsed. I double-clicked. The room filled with scrolling messages, screenshots layered like forensic evidence. Text threads, dates, photos, heart emojis, plans to meet behind my back, nasty jokes about me, descriptions of how they hooked up while I was running errands or helping Dad. Mom covered her mouth. Dad muttered, "Oh my God." I wasn't done. I also brought audio, I said quietly, from last week, when I found them in Emily's old room at your house. I hit play. Groans, breathy laughter, whispers, Daniel's voice saying things I wish I could erase from my skull. Emily shouted, "Darlene, turn that off!" "No," I said. "You lost the right to tell me what to do the moment you decided my boyfriend was your personal hobby." Daniel buried his face in his hands. Mom began crying. Dad paced. My aunt looked nauseous. Emily stood up suddenly, pointing a shaking finger at me. "This is ridiculous. These things just happen. You always act like you're perfect, Darlene. Maybe if you weren't so cold." "Sit down, Emily." My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. It sliced through her. "You betrayed me for 3 years. In my home, in Dad's home, at family gatherings, and you want to blame me?" Daniel finally spoke, voice cracking. "Darlene, I never meant—" I snapped my gaze to him. "Don't you dare talk to me." Mom grabbed my arm. "Honey, please, let's just calm down and talk about this rationally." I pulled away gently but firmly. "I am calm. I've had a week to breathe. What I'm not going to do is pretend this didn't happen." Dad stopped pacing. "Darlene, let's think. Is ending the relationship necessary? You and Daniel could work through this. Dad, I said, he slept with your other daughter. For 3 years. Silence. Heavy, complete, suffocating. I closed the laptop. This is what's going to happen, I said, voice steady. 1. Daniel, your things need to be out of my apartment by tomorrow night or they'll be thrown out. 2. Emily, stay away from me. 3. Mom, Dad, I'm done with the company. Dad blinked hard. What do you mean done? I'm done rebuilding everything while Emily gets the rewards. I'm done keeping your business alive for free. I'm done being the daughter who fixes every problem you create. But we need you, Dad began. No, I said. You needed me years ago. You just never respected what I did. Mom's voice wavered. Darlene, you're overreacting. Let's not create drama. That word, drama, the same word she always used when she wanted me to swallow pain quietly. I leaned close enough for her to see the truth in my eyes. Drama? You raised a daughter who slept with her sister's boyfriend, and you want me to worry about drama? Mom opened her mouth, closed it again. Emily sat in her chair shaking, pretending to cry. Daniel said nothing. Coward. I picked up my laptop, slung the bag over my shoulder, and looked at all of them one last time. You didn't break me, I said softly. You just freed me. And then I walked out. Through the hallway where family photos smiled down at me like mocking ghosts. Through the doorway that felt lighter than it ever had before. I didn't look back. After the dinner explosion, the silence that followed was almost suspicious. No one showed up at my door. No one demanded explanations. My phone buzzed occasionally, but not with the fury I expected. Instead, it was quiet, eerily quiet, like the calm after an earthquake, where everything looks still on the surface, but the ground beneath is beginning to crack. Daniel sent one pathetic text. Darlene, please, we need to talk. I messed up. I blocked him without hesitation. Emily didn't text at all. Of course she didn't. She only reaches out when she needs something. When she's caught, she disappears. Classic Emily. My parents tried calling me the next morning. I let every call ring out. They'd spent my entire life ignoring warning signs. Now they could feel what it was like to be ignored. I had more important things to handle. Early Monday, before anyone else arrived, I walked into Dad's office for the last time. The space smelled like old wood and stress, stacks of papers, half-finished coffee cups, and memories of me trying to clean up disasters no one thanked me for. I went straight to my desk. I packed the few personal items I kept there, removed all my login credentials from every financial system, archived the last 3 years of data into proper folders. Then I placed my office key on Dad's desk. One page beside it, my resignation letter. Effective immediately, I resigned from all involvement with Arnold Construction, paid or unpaid. Do not contact me except through legal counsel. Darlene. And I walked out, quietly, calmly, finally free. By noon, the phones began blowing up. Dad called twice. Mom called 6 times. Emily sent a single message. So you're really abandoning us? Drama queen much. I didn't answer. I forwarded everything to my documentation folder and kept moving. Then I started making calls of my own. The first was to Tom, the lumber supplier, who accounted for most of our materials. Tom, it's Darlene. Just wanted to let you know I'm no longer managing Arnold Construction's finances. I can't vouch for payment timelines anymore. A long pause. Thanks for the warning, Darlene. We'll be updating their terms. Within 5 business days, Arnold Construction was officially cash on delivery. No more net 30, no more breathing room, no more cushion to hide incompetence. I called every other supplier we worked with, plumbing, concrete, electrical, roofing. I didn't badmouth anyone. I just told the truth. I couldn't guarantee the reliability of payments. They all responded the same way. We'll adjust terms immediately. The second thread I pulled was the biggest one. Richard. He ran the development company that brought in nearly 40% of our revenue. I met him for lunch at a quiet restaurant. We talked about work, life, upcoming projects. Eventually, I told him, I'm stepping away from the business completely. Richard didn't flinch. I suspected something was going on. The last bid Emily submitted was unrealistic. I leaned in slightly. Richard, I recommend reviewing all future bids very carefully. Emily doesn't understand commercial construction margins. There was no need to say more. 2 days later, Dad lost the Oakview project, the one that was supposed to carry them through the season. Meanwhile, I focused on myself, the thing I'd never done. I created a consulting LLC, filed paperwork, built a simple website, reached out to contractors and developers I'd built relationships with over the years. The calls came faster than I expected. Darlene, are you taking on new clients? I could use financial consulting on my upcoming bids. Can you review our supplier terms? Within 4 weeks, I had 4 clients. Within 8, I was making more than my old job. Within 12, I had a wait list. While my family's business was beginning to sink, mine was rising effortlessly, like it had been waiting for me to let go of them. The panic call came at 8:42 p.m. on a Thursday. Dad. I let the first call ring out, and the second, and the third. On the fourth, I answered. His voice was thin, crushed. Darlene, the suppliers changed everything. They want payment up front now, all of them. And Richard withdrew the Oakview contract. Do you know anything about this? I kept my tone calm. No, Dad, I'm not with the company anymore. Sounds like they're adjusting to new management. You built those relationships, he snapped. You kept this business running. And now I'm gone, I said simply. He fell silent. I could hear him trying to breathe through the stress. We're in trouble, he said finally. Please, we need your help. There it was, the plea he never made when I worked for free. The acknowledgement he only gave when desperation dragged him to it. Dad, I said, this is what happens when you hand a business to someone based on favoritism instead of competence. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The truth landed like a hammer on wet glass. You wanted Emily to run the company? Let her run it. Darlene, please. For the first time in my life, I felt nothing for his pleading. No guilt, no satisfaction, no anger. Just clarity. You told me not to cause drama, I reminded him. I walked away. Everything after that, that's on you. I hung up on him. And for the first time in 32 years, I didn't look back. Dad didn't call again the next day, or the day after that, which told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't quiet because things were fine. He was quiet because things were collapsing. And sure enough, on Monday morning at 7:13 a.m., my phone rang again. Dad. I let it buzz until the last possible second before answering. His voice was strained, exhausted, older than I'd ever heard it. Darlene, we're drowning. I said nothing, letting him continue. The payments, the penalties, the suppliers, everything is piling up. Emily can't keep up with the project schedules. We're losing subcontractors. We need you. Please. I inhaled slowly. Dad, I don't work for the company. You can consult, he pushed. Just for a while. Just until we stabilize. There it was, begging without ever admitting fault. The Arnold signature move. What's the budget for hiring me? I asked. That stunned silence was the best moment of the week. Budget? He repeated. Darlene, you're family. And I'm a professional, I replied. My rate is $200 an hour, minimum 20 hours a week, bi-weekly invoicing, payment due on receipt. $200, Darlene, that's outrageous. No, I said evenly. What's outrageous is expecting me to fix 3 years of disasters for free. He didn't argue after that. He just whispered, defeated. Fine, draw up the contract. I did. The next morning, I walked into Arnold Construction, not as the daughter who cleaned up messes, but as a consultant with full authority over financial operations. Emily glared at me from the hallway like a child watching someone else get the attention she thinks she deserves. You're seriously coming back? She snapped. After everything you caused? I looked at her, expression blank. I'm here because your incompetence finally has consequences. Her mouth opened, ready to spit something venomous, but I walked past her without waiting to hear it. I went straight to Dad's office and placed the contract on his desk. He skimmed it, slowed, stopped. Darlene, this gives you full control over the budget. Yes. And the authority to override Emily's decisions? Yes. And the ability to terminate the contract if we obstruct your recommendations? Yes. He looked up at me reluctantly. This is extreme. So is losing your house because you ignored every warning sign I gave you for years. He signed. And just like that, the balance of power shifted. I began the audit that afternoon. It was worse than I expected. $45,000 in unpaid invoices from completed projects. Emily had forgotten to send them. $30,000 in duplicate supplier payments. Emily never checked what had been paid already. 3 bids so underpriced they guaranteed financial loss. Payroll taxes misfiled for 6 months. And the cherry on top, a company credit card used for personal bills, salon trips, clothing hauls, dinners, and one weekend getaway Emily claimed was for networking. I documented everything, every receipt, every discrepancy, every irresponsible decision. That night, I sent Dad the full report, 23 pages. His response came an hour later. Oh my God. I didn't reply. The next morning, Emily stormed into the office while I was reviewing tax penalties. You had no right to go through my accounts, she shouted. They're company accounts, I reminded her calmly. Your title doesn't make them your personal wallet. You're just doing this because you're jealous of me, she screamed. I actually laughed. Jealous? Of Emily? Emily, I said, meeting her eyes. I'm not jealous. I'm tired. She didn't know how to respond to that. No one had ever told her the truth without trying to soften it. Dad tried to play mediator, but I refused to discuss anything personal. Business only, I reminded him. That's in the contract. So I laid out the steps required to save what was left. Emily must be removed from financial decision-making. Payment systems must be automated. Supplier terms renegotiated. Tax penalties addressed immediately. Dad needed to reduce his salary for 6 months. Spending freezes. Tight budgets. Actual discipline. Dad agreed to everything, except removing Emily from the company entirely. I can't fire her, he insisted. She's still my daughter. I didn't ask you to fire her, I said. She can keep her title, but she loses all authority. Her salary was reduced by 30%. She was stripped of financial access. She became a project manager with no decision-making power whatsoever. Emily lost her mind. She called me every name she could think of, voice shaking with rage. You ruined my life. You humiliated me. No, I said simply. You did that yourself. Over the next several weeks, I rebuilt what I could. I renegotiated payment schedules, retrieved unpaid invoices, set up proper accounting systems, fixed cash flow issues, kept the business alive, but not thriving. Because there's a difference between saving a company and saving people who refuse to change. I didn't work late nights anymore. I didn't skip meals to fix emergencies. I didn't sacrifice my peace for their comfort. I did my 20 hours, sent my invoices, went home. The company stabilized, but it did not flourish. It was sustainable, but not for Dad's retirement expectations. About 5 months into my contract, my mother finally called me directly. Her voice was soft, pleading. Darlene, your father is exhausted. He's 64 and working 60 hours a week. This needs to stop. I agree, I said. He should sell the business. She gasped, like the idea was an insult. Sell! This company is his legacy. Then he should have protected it better. Darlene, don't be cruel. Cruel? I repeated. Where was that energy when Emily slept with my boyfriend for 3 years? When you told me to let it go? When I worked for free while she got promoted? Silence. She had no answer. Here's what's going to happen, I said at last. I'll finish my contract. I'll prepare the business for sale. After that, I'm done with all of you. Darlene, you can't mean that. I mean every word. And then I hung up. I spent the next 4 months preparing Arnold Construction for its final chapter. Not for revenge, not out of anger. For closure. 4 months later, the business was ready, streamlined, organized, stabilized, just enough to survive, but not enough to pretend things could go back to the way they were. I built a full portfolio of completed projects, cleaned up every financial record, created detailed operating procedures, and contacted potential buyers quietly through my network. One company stood out, a mid-sized construction firm looking to expand into our region. They'd seen some of our salvaged projects, the ones I'd cleaned up from Emily's disasters, and they saw potential. They made an offer, $750,000, enough to pay off Dad's debts, which were far worse than he had ever admitted. Enough to give my parents a modest retirement if they were careful. Enough to put a final period on the legacy that had been held together by my unpaid labor for years. On the day of the sale, Dad sat stiffly in the conference room, clutching the contract like it was a living thing. I walked in, not as his daughter, but as the consultant who had saved what could be saved. The buyers thanked me repeatedly. Your documentation is immaculate, one of them said. You basically built the entire operational framework. Dad didn't look at me. Mom didn't either. Emily wasn't invited. When the papers were signed, the buyers shook my hand. If you ever want to join us full-time, they added, you have a place on our leadership team. I smiled politely. I'm building something of my own, but thank you. Dad finally cleared his throat after the new owners left. Darlene, he began, I know things. Things didn't go the way any of us wanted. I lifted my briefcase. They went exactly the way your choices designed them to. He winced. She's still your sister, he said quietly. Biologically, I replied. In every other way that matters? No. Mom reached for my arm, tears gathering in her eyes. Darlene, family forgives. I stepped back. Family doesn't destroy each other in the first place. Their silence followed me out of the building. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even sad. It was hollow, like they finally understood what they'd lost, but far too late to fix it. That was the last time I saw any of them. 2 months passed. My consulting business exploded. I made 3 times my old salary, worked half the hours, and for the first time in my life, I felt at peace. I met someone new, a project manager at a client firm. His name is Connor. He listens. He cares. He doesn't flinch when I tell him the truth about my past. His reaction to the whole situation? Darlene, you were nicer than they deserved. We're taking things slow. It feels safe, quiet, uncomplicated. One afternoon, my friend Marcus texted me updates, because of course the town was watching my family like a slow-motion train wreck. Dad and Mom had sold their house and moved to a condo. Their retirement fund was draining faster than expected. They were helping Emily with rent because she couldn't hold a job, shocking no one. Then came the texts. First, Melissa, Daniel's ex-girlfriend now, apparently. A long, rambling apology about therapy, regret, self-reflection. I read it. Felt absolutely nothing. Deleted it. Then came Emily. I hope you're happy. You ruined everything. I didn't reply. But Daniel's message, that one made me laugh. You destroyed our family and our business just for revenge. Finally, I responded. I didn't destroy anything. I saved what I could from your incompetence. The fact that you see my boundaries as revenge is exactly why I left. Don't contact me again. He didn't. Weeks passed, quietly, beautifully. Then my mother sent one final text. Family is supposed to forgive each other. I stared at it for a long moment before typing back. Family is supposed to not betray each other in the first place. Try that with your next daughter. Then I blocked her number. Now I sleep better than I ever have. I don't second-guess myself. I don't swallow every feeling to keep the peace. I don't break my back carrying people who would never carry me. If you want advice from someone who lived through it, stop setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Stop sacrificing yourself for people who'd never lift a finger for you. And when someone tells you to not cause drama, cause the kind that changes your life for the better. Build a life where your peace isn't dependent on people who never deserved your loyalty in the first place. I did, and I don't regret a single thing.